fast-paced schedule. It takes, about 7 to 8 days to film just one episode. Now movies, that's a whole other ballpark. They can take months, sometimes years to complete. Now over here on your left, these are production bungalows. That's where a lot of the writers, producers, directors of some of your favorite television shows and movies work. Now many years ago, one of the all-time great directors Hollywood history film worked, I should say, kind of one of these offices. I'm of course talking about the legend, the icon, Alfred Hitchcock.
Move into that office. I said, no, I can never be in Hitchcock's office. That should be a shrine, a museum.
Very exciting, just to know that he was there and walk by and know he was in that office.
Hitchcock.
And there's this office right there, 5195, the silhouette on the side.
Every director.
I saw Hitchcock once, walking around the commissary.
Hitchcock had his bungalow on the lot. I used to go see Alfred Hitchcock.
I loved working with him. I highly respect him. He really understood fear and terror.
Birds? That was a really scary movie.
Birds? Oh man, that had me looking at crows like for the next 10 years.
Psycho, of course.
Vertigo was one of the all-time great masterpieces.
Hitchcock was master.
Yes, he was. Well, guys, that was the end of our tour of the front lot. There's a lot more to see. I know it was exciting. You got to see Hitchcock's bungalow. You got to see some of the soundscapes. But here's the exciting thing, because this is our back lot. This is where we filmed everything outside. So there's a lot more to see. Now, you might remember about 4 years ago, we had a big fire here on our back lot. We're down almost all this area here on your right. This is our Metro sets area. Now, since the fire, of course, as you can see, it's all been rebuilt. It's bigger and better than ever. These are not buildings that you're seeing what we call facades, the front and sides of buildings, and that's because that's all the camera really needs to see, to let your imagination film the rest. Now, what may appear to be brick and stone is yet another Hollywood illusion. Now, this area that we're now entering is one of the more famous areas of our backlot. It is called Courthouse Square. Perhaps best remembered as Hill Valley, California, and all three Back to the Future movies, Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. But since, it's also been featured in many other movies throughout the years, movies like Psycho 2, Gremlins, classics like To Kill a Mockingbird, Bye Bye Birdie. There's Jim Carrey and Bruce Almighty were doubled as the city of Buffalo, New York. And even different time periods like the future, year 2015, Back to the Future Part 2. Flying cars and hoverboards. And here's producer Bob Yell to tell you how
It was actually the back lot of the Courthouse Square
proved to be an integral part of the plot.
to the future.
I had seen it up in the clock tower on that ledge. It was a ledge about that wide. And I was standing inside looking at the ledge, and I already had vertigo. I just thought, there's no way in the world, no way I'm going to stand on that. I was up there for quite a while. Of course, I had a cable.
Now, Michael J. Fox probably wished he had a time machine when he was filming Back to the Future in our Courthouse Square back in 1985, because he was working, literally around the clock, 24/7, between his job on Family Ties, the sitcom that started during the 80s, and coming here every night to film Back to the Future. So during the weekdays, he'd film, he'd film Family Ties, or he'd work on Family Ties, and then he'd come here every night. On the weekends, he'd come here and film all the daytime scenes he couldn't film during the week. So he was working every single day. All that hard work, of course, paid off. One of the biggest box office hits, 1985, was Back to the Future. For his work that year in Family Ties, he won an Emmy Award for Best Actor in a Comedy Series. Well, guys, we made it. This is New York City. Well, New York Street, I should say. It's the most filmed street here on our lot. It's actually one of the most filmed streets in the world. More movies, more television shows, more music videos, more commercials and film on the street than pretty much any other part of the world. Now, speaking of New York, here is our co-host, who of course got his start in New York City on Saturday Night Live.
Hey everyone, welcome to New York! I got my start right here in New York on Saturday Night Live. This is actually my old neighborhood. Once got mugged over there. An old woman. Tough lady. This is my favorite hot dog guy. Hey buddy, how's it going? Remember me? No. Just like old times. You gotta love New York City. Hey! I'm walking here! I'm walking here! It's cool guys. I was just walking there. So it's not exactly New York, but a lot of times when you see New York in the movies, It was shot right here on the Universal Metro sets. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Even if you make it here on the Universal lot.
Absolutely. And, you know, New York Street has not only been New York City in movies, it's been just about every major city in America, and even worldly cities like London, for example. And it's really the job of the art director to transform these sets so that you guys don't recognize it from one production to the next. So as you can see here on your screens, just by adding some Union Jack flags and some red phone booths and double-decker buses and Mini Coopers, you're transported back to swinging 60s London and Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, Mike Myers.
Cool.
And it's not the only time New York Street has doubled as London. Here you have An American Werewolf in London. Hugh Grant in Notting Hill. And Matt Damon in The Bourne Supremacy. And, you know, of course I mentioned that it has doubled as many other cities, of course including New York City. In the movie Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst. In fact, if you're a fan of Spider-Man, they actually shot scenes for the upcoming The Amazing Spider-Man. Comes out this summer. They did scenes right here in New York. It stars Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. And television shows recently that have filmed here on New York Street, including NCIS and Criminal Minds.
They don't go around here when they're filming.
All right, now, you know, one of the huge contributors to our redesign of our Metro sets for The Fire was director Steven Spielberg. You know, he and Universal have quite an extensive history. He's directed some of our biggest box office hits like Jaws, Jurassic Park, E.T. But, of course, he got his start even before he was directing some of these blockbuster movies, directing television here at Universal. This was fresh out of college. He actually came on the lot and directed television shows, including an episode of Rod Serling's Night Gallery. He was set to star in that episode of The Night Gallery was Oscar-winning actress Bette Davis. Now, when she found out Steven Spielberg was directing that episode, she wasn't really pleased. She wanted, you know, someone that was more experienced to direct her, and she said either he goes or